Hi, I'm Colin Adams and welcome to my series of videos, Top Tips for Growing Your Own Business. I've been a business owner for 24 years now. I've had lots of ups and downs along the way, and what I'd like to do is to share with you what I've learned about building and maintaining successful business for that amount of time. I'm hoping you'll find it interesting, and this is the fifth in a series of 5 videos, which I hope you've seen the first 4 already. If not, I would suggest you perhaps go back and start at step 1, finding your dreams and thinking ahead, so that you get an understanding of the pattern that I'm following. It might be a bit more useful for you to do that. But if you've seen the previous 4, I'm hoping you're going to enjoy this one as well, and it's called Building Your Resilience. So this is step 5. Sit back and relax, and here we go. So first thing that I want to talk about is why most businesses seem to fail in the first 2 years. In the UK, it's a well-known statistic that the majority of small businesses fall down at the first few hurdles, and they don't tend to last more than the first couple of years. And the obvious question that I asked myself when I first found out about this was, why is that? And listening to what a lot of people were saying, it seems to me that there's a few key things that are the cause of this particular problem. The main one for me is this. When I've asked people about what they think the failure success model might look like, if they could see it in front of them on a whiteboard, what they've described is something like this. That there's me in the middle, and I set off on my journey to success with my new business, and there are 2 options for me. I either succeed or I fail. And unfortunately, if that is the business model that you're working to, then what's going to happen when you start failing? You are going to make an assumption that that's it, that's the end of the road for you, because you're failing and it's not going to work. And you very quickly go into a downward spiral if you're thinking like that, and it's very difficult to get out of it. So let's talk about the second point in my little anecdote here. PMA, positive mental attitude, all about delivering, or developing, I should say, a winner's attitude to your business. This is absolutely critical, and the key to this is recognizing what the failure and success model actually looks like. And this is what it is. There's me, and what I've realized through my experiences along the way over the last few years is that you have to fail in order to succeed. If you read any of the well-known people's autobiographies like Alan Sugar, Richard Branson and so on, what you'll see there is a catalogue of failures that they've worked their way through and worked their way out of. It's a well-known fact that you're going to find failure. You're going to get people saying no to your sales patter and your pitches. You're going to get people rejecting you, and it's a part of the journey. And if you recognize it as a part of the journey, then you're going to be more willing to accept that this is just the way forward. The more frequently that you fail, the more chance you've got of succeeding. And think of it in terms of a statistic. Okay, if you know, for example, that 1 in 10 people that you speak to is going to say yes and you're going to make a sale, then that is going to really motivate you to go and find that 1 in 10. And once you've found that 1 in 10, you can go and find the next 1 in 10. And this is kind of how I approached it in the early days, to really focus on the yeses that I was looking for, and knowing that they were out there. It was just a question of time before I found them. The third learning point here is about learning to love your no's. And going for no is a really interesting little technique that I read about some time ago, which was absolutely life-changing as far as I was concerned. It really did change my focus. And what I learned was that if I focused on trying to get as many no's as possible, thinking about what I said about failure a moment ago, if you know that there are going to be lots of no's coming, then why not set that as a goal? So what I've said to salespeople that I've trained over the years is, if you're going to set a target to make 20 sales calls, for example, instead of aiming to achieve 5 yeses and getting really disappointed when all those no's happen, which they will, why not just switch it around? See if you can set your target as getting 20 consecutive no's in a row. And if, for example, you get a yes, you have to start all over again until you get 20 consecutive no's. So the goal becomes getting as many no's as you can, and that's your feeling of success. And it really does change your mindset. It's a really interesting psychological trick, but it really does work. If you can get a yes, you start all over again, and the no's become inconsequential. You just fight your way through them until you get the yeses. It's a really great little trick, and it's well worth trying if you get the opportunity to do that. Number 3, get ready for a roller coaster ride. They say when you've got your own business, it's all feast and famine. And do you know what? It's absolutely true. The highs are really high. You get some great periods of time where everything's going swimmingly, you're making lots of money, and it's fabulous. And you get other times when all of a sudden, you're just getting comfortable, and all of a sudden everything crashes. The economy takes a hit. Something disastrous happens, somewhere else that affects your business. COVID hits you and everybody stops buying. So many different things happen which are out there to test you. So what can we do to build our resilience through feast and famine? Well, the famine is the difficult part of this. The feasting is relatively easy to deal with, but the most important thing about that is making sure you put money aside while it's happening, so that when the famine hits, you're ready for it and you've got a little bit of contingency just in case. But when things are slow, when things are getting a bit more difficult, we've got to find a way of working through that and not sitting overthinking and getting a bit depressed and down about it all. So first thing to think about, are your competitors really all your competitors? I've discovered over the years that people who have their own business in a similar sort of field as me don't necessarily have to be competitors. I've linked up with quite a number of trainers who are self-employed, who do very similar things to me, and they could well be competitors, but I've invited them to join me, or they've invited me to join them and collaborate. And we've developed several really good relationships and really good products along the way, which have been incredibly lucrative. So rather than fighting your competition, why not look at ways of working with them and joining forces? And that can really help you as well, because it gives you that little bit of confidence to know that there are other people like you who are in similar situations and you can help each other out. If it's quiet, don't over stress. I used to really stress about not having work coming in at any particular point, and it does really get you down very, very quickly. So what we need to be doing is planning our next move as soon as these things start to kick in. Improve your skills, for example. There's lots of online training, lots of things you can learn, lots of books you can read, things you can do to improve yourself in some way, particularly your skills, and look at ways that you can improve your mindset, for example. That will keep you focused on the positives during a really negative time. Learn something new if all else fails. Do something completely different and just do something you enjoy as well. So you need to get a little bit of a balance going on. Don't chase customers who aren't there. When COVID hit, I didn't go crazy trying to make connections and sell my training courses and things like that, because people weren't buying, and I was flogging a dead horse doing it that way. So sometimes you just got to come to terms with the fact that everything's come to a halt right now. We just need to pause, take a breath, and have a rethink about what our strategy is going to be to get through that period of time. If customers aren't buying, what alternatives do you have? You may like to think about what the other options may be. When COVID did start and we all went into lockdown, my immediate thought was, okay, so there's not going to be any work for a few months. People aren't going to be buying. I deliver my training in classrooms and I go out to my customers, and that's all I'd ever done up to that point. So all of a sudden I was thinking, where's this going? As time ticked on, I was starting to think, this isn't changing. This could go on for a long, long time, as of course it did. So I started to think what alternatives there might be. And I got a phone call from a major client of mine a few months into the lockdown, who asked me if I could construct some courses on Zoom to pilot, to try out. And I kind of reluctantly agreed to do it because I was very nervous about the idea of trying to deliver training in this way. I really didn't think it was going to work, but I agreed to give it a go. Didn't make any promises. I said, we'll give it a go. We'll try it out. And fortunately, it really did work. And after running a few pilot courses and testing a few ideas out, we started to get the thing together and really get it working. And what's happened is that's really opened doors that I didn't even know exist. One of those doors being what I'm doing with you right now, and delivering training opportunities for people online like this. It would never have happened had I not started to go down that route. So from tragedy, I suppose you could call it, came a light at the end of the tunnel. And it's a question of just looking for those opportunities, really. You've got to get in the habit as a business owner of looking for new opportunities and managing the changes that are happening on a constant basis. So use your time productively, explore and research your options. What are your competitors doing now? It might be a question you need to ask yourself so that you can see where you need to be going or what direction you might need to be taking next. So let's recap then. We've had 5 lessons for learning how to develop and maintain your business. Lesson 1, find your dream. Lesson 2, mend your mindset. Lesson 3, make a plan. And lesson 4, let's get it done. Let's make it happen. And lesson 5, once you get going and you start to get off the ground, you've got to learn to build your resilience, to maintain that business, and really, most importantly, maintain your own personal self-motivation and self-esteem as you go along. There'll be highs and lows, but I promise you the highs are really, really worth it. So that's the end of my series of training sessions. I really hope that you've enjoyed them, and please let me know what you thought about them. Make some comments in the feedback if you'd like to do that below, and I look forward to hearing how you get on. Thanks very much. Bye for now.